Hey, word saints! Father Chris here. Welcome to our Crucifixional live stream. Glad to have you beautiful people with us on this glorious Friday. Last night, Greg and I went to a professional NFL football game in our hometown. We had a great time. We even drank beer together. Yeah, it was fun. We had a blast. We enjoyed it. Our team even won, and all of the excitement that goes with it. The people we were with were great and hospitable. It was a blast. But I had some problems while I was there, and I know they're my problems. It's a me issue, but the crowd. Oh my gosh! I mean, that stadium holds 65,000 people, and I'm telling you, there were 66,000 people there. It was just, I mean, as it should be, right? That's their business, but it was packed, and it was loud, and you're jammed in, in between people in these small little seats, and then there's all the lines to wait to get your snacks or to get the beer. There are lines to get in. There are people who you had to go through metal detectors to check you out, and just chaos. I mean, the whole experience was chaos, and some people love it. I hate it. I can't stand doing it. I enjoyed the people I was with, but I hated the experience because I'm old maybe and crabby, and I just can't deal with the crowds. But I thought about it as I got into bed, and I wanted to share some ideas and thoughts with you this morning. It's not about the crowds. I mean, I'm sure all those people were nice people. It's the noise. I mean, literally the speakers, the fans screaming, the music playing. All of it's for sure but it's the noise of just being constantly like consumed with this chaos. And that's the world we live in. I mean, it's everywhere, right? I mean, you know it, I know it, it's everywhere. It's on your phones, it's on in your cars, it's at the store, it's with your families, it's around the table, it's when you're with your friends, it's when you're at football games. It's just pounded. And my brain, when I laid into bed, just kind of dumped just the stimuli that I had absorbed over the last few hours. And I thought about it that I'm not even saying that the world needs to stop being how it is. I don't know that we could do so even if we choose to. But I do think we as warrior saints need to be very deliberate in setting aside some time to go to a quiet place or a lonely place. Let me tell you what I mean by that. It is, the human brain cannot handle all of the stimuli that we throw at it. In fact, science has shown us that the technology and the world around us in which we live is increasing or growing or whatever you want to say, multiplying, improving. What's the word? Anyways, advancing faster than any other time in history, and that the human brain is not designed to be able to keep up with those advances. Does that make sense? So like, in other words, throughout history, as we've made technological advances, the mind has been able to follow along pretty clearly, or pretty quickly. Now it is going so fast that we can't keep up. And we need to have some space, buffer, whatever you want to call it, a lonely place, so that we can allow our brains to be exactly what they're designed to be. I think that's why we have so much of the problems that we have in the world in the first place, is because we're so absorbed with keeping up and FOMO that we're not we're not functioning at optimal levels. How's that? Jesus gives us some insight into this in the Gospel of Mark. Now, quick setup before we get to chapter 6. Well, in chapter 6, he has sent his disciples out and apostles out to go and preach. They come back to him after having done that mission. And he says to them, look, let's have a conversation. In chapter 6, verse 30, it says that they came back to Jesus and told him all they had done and taught. And then he says the following. And he said to them, "Come away by yourselves to a lonely place and rest a while. For many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat." And so they got into a boat and went away to a lonely place. What Christ was saying to them is, you did your work, man. You went out there and taught, and people were starting to hear the gospel. But now it is time to find some space to recharge, regenerate, right? You could just see it. It's so clear that in the chaos that they faced, the Lord knew that they needed to come apart, and he uses this phrase, a lonely place. In Greek, erimon topo, and it's kind of like desert, though it's the same word as desert. The desert place. Quiet. Solitude, to allow the brain to refresh and recharge. And I know the game yesterday taught me a million things, and as I said, I had a blast, but I know, and I know you know, that we are pounded by chaos. It is continual, it is relentless, it's never ending in our lives. You must be deliberate If you want to function at optimal levels and be as clear and sharp-minded as you can be and give your best back to the world, you've got to find that lowly place. To do that takes a lot of work. And like I say, it's got to be deliberate. You've got to do it by design. You can't just let it default. Well, I'll rest when I get everything done. No, you can't, it doesn't work like that. To do that requires a little bit of guidance because there's so much. How do we overcome it? Well, I will tell you this. Though the warrior saints may not be good at very many things, we are becoming very quickly experts at finding time for the lonely place. If you visit us there at warriorsaints.org, you can subscribe to the Way of the Warrior Saint. This is part of our academy. It's one course, if you will, in our academy, our instructions. And as you go through, you are going to find a gazillion, maybe not literally, but a gazillion lessons that deal with how to manage time, how to find that space, how to control these bad boys, how to schedule and be effective in controlling your life, your space, so that you can find that lonely place that Jesus is talking about, so that he can come into your hearts and into your minds and fill you up with some good stuff, so that when you go back out into the chaos, you're ready to kick some butt rather than just have your butt kicked around like some of us did last night at a football game. Do you understand? Let us help guide you. Let us help teach you to be at your most optimal levels, to be a warrior saint. We love you, beautiful people. We're going to be back next week to continue our teaching. We will join you, however, this Sunday morning at 9 and 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, respectively, for Orthros and Divine Liturgy. We invite you to join us for worship and pray with us. We'll be back next Monday. Love you, beautiful people. And as always, keep walking on the way of the warrior saint.